Hey, everybody. I'm your host, Chris Noggle, and welcome back to the show. Today, we're going to cover what I think is one of the most devastating things that can happen to all of you. And it also is one of the things that I truly think has limited mankind more than anything else there is. This is something that we all suffer from, something that we all do, and something we all need to be consciously aware of before it takes hold of you and limits your potential. This thing we're going to talk about in this solo episode is called the arrival syndrome. And it is something that I am seeing now more than I've ever seen in my life. And it is something that I've done in my own life. And it has limited me in where I'm at. And I don't want this arrival syndrome to limit you. And we're going to discuss what the arrival syndrome is. We're going to discuss how you can avoid it. We're going to discuss the main problems it creates and who right now I think is suffering from this catastrophe, this toxic mindset. So but before we do that, let's talk about all of you and your journey to becoming a rebel banker. On that journey, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to be seeking knowledge in many different ways. But you know, the person that told you that knowledge is power kind of lied to you, because it's not the knowledge that's power. It's the application of the knowledge that really matters. The application of the knowledge is what gets you where you want to be. It's what advances you in life. And that is what you got to focus on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to challenge all of you to take action. I'm going to convince all of you to not just gather this knowledge, but I'm going to have you take action on this knowledge that you learned today. Because if I ever give you good knowledge, this one that you're going to hear about is one of the most important. And I'm going to challenge you by giving you something for free. I remember back in some of my hard times, I had to be given something in order to get me to take action. So I'm going to give you something for free. I'm going to give you this book, Drifting Away from Traditional Car Buying. This little booklet, okay, very short, big type, lots of photos, is going to teach you how to get all the money back for every single car that you're ever going to buy, drive, and own. Well, does that sound pretty cool? Well, it's simple. It involves changing one thing. But to get that free booklet, all you need to do is take action. Go to chrisnoggle.com and scroll down to where it says register for the Wealth Webinar Series. It is a free webinar that we do every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. But to get this booklet, you just have to register. If you can't make it, no problem. We'll send you the recordings. And if you're just out for the free shit, great. Click the register. We won't bother you. We won't send you anything. We'll just give you your free booklet so that you can then say, Chris, I applied that knowledge. So let's dive in. The arrival syndrome. Now, the first time I ever learned about the arrival syndrome was from a book, from a very powerful book called Becoming Your Own Banker. And in page 34, there's an entire section about the arrival syndrome. And that's what we're going to really cover. We're going to talk about this devastating matter that affects so many people. And what is the arrival syndrome? Well, let me read to you exactly what he says it is. And this is it. Okay. When this thing infects us, we stop growing, we stop learning, we rot. We turn off and tune out the ability to receive inspiration because we already know all there is to know. What is the arrival syndrome? Folks, it's when you think you know everything. When you think you know everything is when you have arrived. Because when you're at that point, now I know you're like, oh, I'm never going to know everything, but trust me, I said that, and then I thought I knew everything. It might just be in one particular category. It might be in that one area that you're the expert, where you think you know everything and nobody can teach you something different. When you start thinking that way, you have arrived. I say this all the time. I'm in the money space, right? I teach people the truth about money, teach people how money really works. I teach them the secrets of the wealthy. But you know what? Oftentimes, I have to talk to other financial advisors, which I spent 16 years as a high-level advisor. And I have to talk to these other advisors. And you know the biggest problem with financial advisors, especially a seasoned one, a successful financial advisor, most of them, unfortunately, have had this thing happen to them. They are suffering from the arrival syndrome because they think they know everything. They've got the licenses, they got their Series 7, 6, 63, 66, whatever licenses they have. They're successful. They got lots of clients. They're doing great. And they think nobody Nobody can teach them anything new when it comes to money or investing or how money really works. I deal with this all the time. For those of you that don't know, the one main thing that we do here is we teach people the truth about money. We teach them a secret, a hack, if you will, or how we cracked the code. And it's not really any of that. It's not a hack. It's not a cracked, so we didn't crack the code. All we did is mimicked what the wealthy do. All we did is copied what the banks do every single day. And we just came up with a system that worked around what has been being done for hundreds of years. So all that sounds pretty easy, right? Well, yeah, of course it is. It's been around for hundreds of years. It was created by the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Walt Disneys. It wasn't created by the Walt Disneys, but it was used by Walt Disney. It was used by Ray Kroc. It was used by Doris Christopher for Pampered Chef, and also used by the current sitting president, Joe Biden. All those people use it. Banks are the number one users of what we're going to talk about. And what this thing is called the infinite banking concept. It is a process of taking back the banking functions in your life. But that process is paired up with a machine, a vehicle, a product, if you will, called a specially designed and engineered whole life. That's right. But too many people, when they hear whole life, financial advisors specifically, they think they know everything there is to know about whole life. And the truth of the matter be this: they do not. They just think they know what they don't know. And that is a shame, because they have arrived. They have arrived and know everything. There's this product called a whole life, and they know everything there is to know about it, but they don't know anything because they clearly don't know how it's been used by banks. They don't know how it's been used by the wealthy. They don't know how it's used in combination with the infinite banking concept. I've seen this over and over and over again with financial advisors. And when they hear about it, instantly you can just see it in their face. They become assholes. They become arrogant. They already know. Oh, whole life. Oh, yeah, I know all about that. Why don't we talk about the fees? Why don't we talk about this? Why don't we talk about that? Right off the bat, I know that they are suffering, and I should feel awful for them. They are suffering from this thing. They have arrived. They have literally arrived at a place where nobody can teach them anything new, because they think that just because they are an advisor, that they have learned everything. And this is where I get really upset, because, I understand something that they don't understand. I understand that the biggest problem in this country, the biggest problem for all advisors, the biggest problem for all of us is not what we don't know. The biggest problem is what we think we know that just ain't so. Will Rogers said that. There is never going to come a time in your life where you will know everything. There will never come a time where you are going to be the utmost expert and there is nothing more for you to learn, because there is always more to learn. There is always more forward progression. But if you think of mankind as a whole, think of how this one thing has limited mankind, because people think that there's no way that's possible. Steve Jobs said, think differently. Prior to someone landing on the moon, they said that's impossible. There used to be movies out there where they would show things that maybe were like cell phones or maybe like flying cars. They said that's impossible. That could never physically happen. Physics would never allow that. How many things in life, if you track back in history, have they said were not possible? Well, how many of them now have come to be? The impossible is something that we limit ourselves because we think we know all there is to know. We think that we have arrived. And when we do that, we stop creativity, we stop inspiration, we stop forward movement, because now there's nothing more to look forward to, nothing more to push to. All of you have faced this. I know this because I have. Let me tell you my story. See, all of you know most of my story if you've listened to this. I was born into a lower middle class family, raised by my mom. Dad really wasn't much of a part in my life, and still isn't today. But the thing that comes into this whole thing is when I started having success as a financial advisor in the 2000s, the mid 2000s is when I really caught my stride. I was, one of the top 3 advisors in the firm that I was at. I was managing lots of money. I had over 700 clients. Things were good. But the problem with it, when things are good and you're making good money, you all of a sudden get a bit of an ego. You start thinking, nobody can tell me I'm not the best at this. Nobody can tell me I don't know more than them. I'm the top 3 guy. Heck, maybe I was, if I was number 1 and there was this guy, Mark, who was always number 1, I never beat him. But you know what? Mark also suffered from the arrival syndrome. So many people in my industry, the financial industry, have arrived. We all have gotten to a point where we think just because of training, because of arrogance, because of money, that we know everything. Well, in today's world, let me keep going with that. So I was that person. I had arrived. And I remember I would be told something new. I'm like, that doesn't work that way. And I'll never forget the one time, it was probably about 2014, somewhere thereabouts. I was out in Salt Lake City and I was at a cheesecake factory right downtown Salt Lake. And I was sitting there with a very, very successful, wealthy man with the name of Mike. And Mike was somebody that lent me and my wife a lot of money for the real estate deals that we did. And I remember sitting there talking to Mike, and we were talking money. We had a deal that he was going to fund for us. And I said to him, because I was the money guy and I was a big financial advisor. I said, so Mike, how do you do all this lending? You're always talking about you're being the bank. You and Greg are always saying being the bank is the ultimate in real estate. So what is it that you guys are doing? How are you lending all this money? I said, it must be, and in my mind, I'm thinking, it must be this, it must be that, it must be this, because of my former training and all the things that I knew, because I had arrived, remember? And he leans into me and he says, well, we have our own bank. We created our own banking system. I'm like, oh my God, Mike, I didn't realize you were, I'm thinking to myself, I didn't realize you were that level, man. You own a bank? Like you actually literally, where's your bank? Can I go into it? And then he proceeds to tell me that his bank was just a system. He doesn't actually own a bank. Okay. He mimics what a bank does day in and day out. And he treats his money the same way he treats the bank's money. But he changed one thing, folks, one thing. And when he told me what this one thing that he changed was, my arrival syndrome kicked in. And I said, nope, it doesn't work that way, because I was the expert. I was the big financial advisor, even though he was wildly successful, far wealthier than I was by leaps and bounds. I was the one that thought I had known everything. And he tells me about this machine that he uses for his banking system. And that machine was a whole life insurance policy. Now, immediately, I knew a lot about whole life. The company I was with sold whole life. We knew a lot about whole life as life insurance. And then he proceeded to tell me that it's not a normal whole life. It's a specially designed and engineered whole life contract that works for banking. And then the death benefit, why we normally would buy whole life, was a secondary. It was just a bonus. And he starts telling me about this. He says, I put money in it and I take money out immediately in the first 30 days. And I said, Mike, that doesn't work that way. The whole life that I had seen up to this point, when you put money into it, you had no money in the first year, no money in the second year, and hardly any money in the third year to use. So how can this be that you've got this magical, specially designed and engineered whole life that you're taking money out immediately in the first 30 days? And I said, oh, well, it must not be much. And then he proceeded to tell me, no, it was between 60 and 90%. I'm like, bullshit. There isn't a whole life on earth that I've ever seen in all my 14 years as a high-level advisor that you can do this. And this successful, wealthy, much more knowledgeable than I man leans into me and he says, Chris, if it doesn't work this way, then explain to me, how have I been doing this for years? And I sat back. I said, touche. Because knowledge is nothing. See, I had the knowledge, but that didn't mean I had the experience. That didn't mean I had the application of this banking system that he did have the knowledge and application of. I just simply had knowledge. And because of my knowledge and my false beliefs, my ego, and because I had been suffering from the arrival syndrome, this thing, I thought I knew all there was to know about whole life. And in literally a 15-minute conversation, I realized I didn't know shit about whole life, because I thought that all whole life was pretty much created equal. There's whole life offered by this company or that company or this company. But outside of that, it's, an overpriced life insurance policy that lasts your entire life and has some really great features if they fit the bill for what the client needs. But what I did not realize at all, I did not realize how that contract that the insurance company puts together and commonly calls a whole life could be modified and engineered and designed to do exactly what Mike was doing, which was private lending and using it as his banking system. And I immediately said to Mike, I said, holy crap. I didn't come off of the arrival syndrome at this point. I said, Mike, teach me. Like, tell me, kind of almost in an arrogant way. Oh, well, then show me how to do it then, dude. You're the genius. Like, tell me how to do this. And he says, well, I can't. You see, I use this, Chris. I didn't create this. This has been around for hundreds of years. It was created probably by the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the JPs, or Morgans back in the day when they realized that banks weren't a safe place to store or warehouse all of their capital. You see, these wealthy families said, you know what? What is the strongest financial institution in the world? And what they found is that it wasn't banks, nor is it today. It was giant mutually owned insurance companies. So what they did is they found a way to reconstruct, create a banking system, not using a bank. And bear in mind, those families I just mentioned were all bankers. Obviously, you all have heard of JP Morgan. All of you have heard of the Rockefeller family, and all of you have heard of the Rothschilds. They're all bankers, but they don't even use a traditional bank to warehouse their wealth. They use giant mutually owned insurance companies to warehouse their wealth. And you can't just walk into an insurance company and deposit money there. You have to create this banking system with someone that has the knowledge and the application of the knowledge to do this. Mike had the application. This gentleman that Mike worked with by the name of Brent had the knowledge, the application, and the wherewithal to actually create this system. And that is what Mike told me. Mike said, listen, I just use this. This guy, Brent, helped me set this up and continues to help me build my banking system. You'd have to call him. And I immediately said, well, give me his number. And he does. He texts me this Brent guy's number. And I call Brent, hey, this is Chris Nagel. I'm a big financial advisor. I know all about this. Mike was just telling me how you use whole life. And, I'm talking 1,000 miles a minute. He probably only caught like half of what I was saying because I was so excited and so fired up about this thing. I just wanted to learn more because I was just shown that what I thought was true was not true. And all of a sudden, Brent says to me, he says, all right, great. Have you seen the 90-minute video? And I said, what video? And he says, oh, well, in order to do a call, you first have to watch this 90-minute video. Boom, just like that, my arrival syndrome kicks back in and I'm like, no, Brent, I know all about this stuff. I'm a financial advisor. I'm one of the top 3 guys. I blah, 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 blah. And he says, well, hold on there, young buck. He says, I understand that, but you think you know what you don't know. And to do a call with me, I'm more than happy to help you. I'll answer all your questions. But first, you have a toll, and that toll is your time. And that time was 90 minutes. You have to watch a 90-minute video. I reluctantly agreed, and I went downstairs at my house with a giant cup of coffee thinking this is going to be awful. I already know all about this stuff because I've arrived. That thing has happened to me. I already know all this stuff. So when I'm down there, I hit play on the video, and I swear 90 minutes went by like it was 15 minutes. 4 pages of notes later, drank none of the coffee. I literally cracked the code. I, at that moment, realized exactly what I said earlier, that the problem wasn't what I didn't know. The problem was what I thought I knew that just wasn't so. See, I thought I knew all about this product. I thought I knew all about this thing, and I knew nothing about it. At that moment, I began the process of unwinding my arrival syndrome. I began the process of realizing that I had a lot to learn in order to really teach people the truth about money. I had a lot to learn myself to understand the truth. So what I did is I went on a journey after that point of creating my own banking system, but not going out and telling other people about it yet. See, I had to prove the concept. I had to apply the knowledge in the machine that I had just created, specially designed and engineered whole life. And I had to go out there and then use it to then solve the problems that I had, which at that time was debt. And what I found was that this system, this machine, this specially designed and engineered whole life, paired up with a process called the infinite banking concept, solved all of those problems. And when it solved all those problems, I went on to keep evolving that and creating, because now I had come off of the arrival syndrome and now I was just a sponge. I was willing to learn. I was willing to create. I was willing to be inspired because what I had found was something I knew nothing about and something I wanted to know everything about. But the problem is you can never know everything there is to know about anything because there is always more to learn, always more to know, and always more to apply in your life, no matter how good you are at something, no matter how unbelievable of an athlete you are, no matter how unbelievable of a financial advisor you are, or whatever the heck you do. You don't know shit because there is a lot more to learn, and that will never change. We are always evolving. We are always creating. We are always doing more to be more. And that, unfortunately, has limited our mankind because too many of us have not taken that step to create, have not taken that step to be inspired, and have not taken that step to push ourselves where we haven't been before because it's comfortable thinking we know everything in our little square box that we have created called the arrival syndrome. Damn it. Get off of the chair and go out there and create something. Stop thinking you know everything. You don't know shit, just like I didn't know shit. So, folks, going back to the whole point of this solo podcast is this thing that we're talking about has not just limited mankind more than anything else. It has limited you. It has limited where you are. It has limited what you have done in your life. I don't care what level of success you are. You could have been more, and you should want to be more. And then to do that, you just got to understand you don't know shit, and there's more to learn. And to all the financial advisors that may or may not listen to this, I have some news for you. I actually feel awful for you. I feel sad for you because most of the financial advisors I come in contact with today are because clients that have been exposed to this unbelievable process called the infinite banking concept and have learned about this machine called a specially designed and engineered whole life. They want to know more. So the first person they turn to is their trusted financial advisor. And their financial advisor says, oh, it doesn't work that way. Oh, it's a scam. Oh, there's no way that happens. Did you just hear my story, folks? That was me. I was that fucking guy. And your financial advisor thinks they know everything because they've arrived. All of these assholes that I meet, and sorry, I don't mean it that way, but the ones that have arrived, I don't have another word for it because it pisses me off because I know their potential. I know what they can do. I know how much more they can be, and I know how much more they can help you. I don't need to help you with the infinite banking concept or this concept. Your advisor could, but your advisor first needs to learn that they don't know what this is, and they have a lot to learn. And once they learn that they don't know that and that they have a lot more to learn, they can be a lot more valuable to you. Why is it that financial advisors limit their clients? Is because they don't realize that they have a lot more to learn. The wealthiest individuals out there, you know what they did? They went out there and found advisors, and they paid their advisors retainers. Instead of commissions, instead of fees, they paid retainers to go out and find the best thing to solve that wealthy family's problem. And what they stumbled upon is things like this, the infinite banking concept, privatized banking. They found it because it's been around for hundreds of years. It's been talked about for hundreds of years. It's been used by banks for centuries. But yet we don't know about it. And the reason for that, why doesn't your advisor know? Why didn't I know? It's because we were never taught. And why were we never taught? Because financially, it didn't make sense for the brokerages and all the institutions to teach us something that paid us a commission or a fee that was reduced by 60 to 90%. So when you're learning something that benefits your client, guess what? You have to give so your client can get. And therefore, there lies the question, or actually a question and an answer. That's why you don't know about that. That's why you've never heard about this. There's no money in it. And I constantly hear it from people, mostly advisors, saying, oh, they're talking about whole life because it pays a big commission. You're right. Normal whole life does pay an awesome commission, a huge commission. Unfortunately, the way we design and engineer these whole lives, they pay us roughly 90% less than a regular whole life. So your advisor wants nothing to do with something that they have to take a 90% cut in pay so that you can learn and apply in your life. Would you be willing, and be truthful with yourself, would you be willing to give up 90% of your income so that somebody else could have 90% more? The answer would probably be no. Don't kid yourself. Why do you think you don't know about this? That's why. But why is it that everybody out there talks about Buy term, invest the difference, or IULs right now. We're in 2021. IULs are the hottest thing in the brokerage platform. Why would that be? Is it really because it's the best thing? Is it really because it's such an amazing product? Is term really such a great product? No. Term is great for what it does. It protects you for a period of time. Outside of that, term is simply the most profitable, highly profitable product that insurance companies sell because they pay out less than 2% of the claims. So they've got a product that literally is more than 98% profitable. IULs, same deal. Commissions on IULs are higher than just about any other product I've ever seen. The advisors can make up to 120% of the premiums you put into them. So if you put 10 grand into an IUL, that advisor might make $12,000 in commission. If you put $10,000 into this specially designed and engineered whole life that's built properly to do the infinite banking concept, that advisor would make roughly $400. Would you, as an advisor, want to make $12,000 or $400? Ask yourself that question honestly. You would want to make the $12,000, right? Well, you know what you just did? You fucked your client because you took the money so your client doesn't get it. You won so your client loses. And you violated rule number 5 of the laws of wealth. Because the laws of wealth simply say, and I'll read them right from my book right here. Okay. Wealth shall find you if your heart and soul are focused on solving other people's problems. Unconditionally give and solve people's problems. Find joy in giving in order to get. I just told you why you don't know about this. It's because somebody wasn't willing to subscribe to the 5th law of wealth and give. They just wanted to get, and therefore you lose. So folks, be very cautious who you take advice from. Follow the dollar. Understand that the arrival syndrome has limited not only you, but mankind in its entirety. And let me just read you one other thing from Daniel Borstein. Okay, this is from 1914. This historian stated it this way: the greatest obstacle to discovering the shape of the earth, the continents, and the oceans was not ignorance. It was the illusion of knowledge. Do you understand what that says? The illusion of knowledge is what you face every day. The illusion that someone has all the knowledge there is. And, we could go on and on about this, but I can simply tell you that this is one of the biggest problems that I face today. I face too many people that have the arrival syndrome. I face too many people that are unwilling to progress their lives, unwilling to progress their wealth, unwilling to progress their financial future for their families because they have simply arrived at a place where they just know everything and there's nothing more to know. Or worse, they take advice from someone that has arrived, that is unwilling to learn, that is unwilling to create, and it is unwilling to accept the fact that they don't know what they don't know because they have the illusion of knowledge. They don't actually have the knowledge themselves. The illusion of knowledge. I think that is so important because it was not ignorance. It wasn't what they didn't know. It's what they thought they knew that just wasn't so. Let me read you this. Now, I don't care what your religion is. I don't care, what you believe in. So just play into this because this is a very important one. This is a quote, a prayer from Sir Francis Drake's prayer. And this is right out of the book, Becoming Your Own Banker. Disturb us, O Lord, when we are too well pleased with ourselves, when our dreams have come true because we've dreamed too little, when we arrived safely because we sailed too close to the shore. Disturb us, O Lord, when with the abundance of the things we possess, we have lost our thirst for the waters of life. Having fallen in love with life, we have ceased to dream of eternity. And in our efforts to build a new earth, we have allowed our vision of the new heaven to dim. Disturb us, O Lord, to dare more boldly, to venture on wider seas, when storms will show us your mastery, when storms will show your mastery. Where losing sight of land will find the stars. When you push back the horizons of our hopes and you push us into the future in strength, courage, hope, and love, this we ask in the name of our captain, who is Jesus Christ. Again, I don't want to get religious with you, but if you really read into that, folks, we expect too little. We strive for too little. We don't do enough because we have arrived, because we think that we should be content with what we have, and you should, but we should never lose sight of what we could have. We should never lose sight of what we could give. We should never, ever lose sight of what we could be, because we have arrived at a place where we think we know everything, at a place where we are content with what we have, which is too little, because we give up the ability to dream and to create. I don't want this to sound like I'm preaching. I simply want you to understand that I see this every day. This illusion of knowledge. I see this thing that limits mankind and has limited mankind forever. And I see this thing as almost a plague. I see it as something that all of you are infected with, this thing. Do not arrive. Do not allow yourself to get to a place where you know everything. Don't ever think that you are so smart or so good at something that you are the best. Because when you do, the only place to go is back down. The only thing you will do is rot, because now there's nothing to look forward to. There's nothing to strive for, and there's nothing to create, because you are content. And that is a dangerous place to be. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this. If you want to learn more about this, it is in this book, Becoming Your Own Banker, page 34. I simply wanted to stress my place. I wanted to stress how I was affected by this, how this held me back from a much greater life than I have today. And how today, even in the success that I've had, even with the wealth that I've built, I am just getting started. And the rest of my life, every day is the start of a new journey. Every day I am striving to live my perfect day, and my perfect day will always change every day. Because as I accomplish goals, as I meet milestones, as I get to certain levels that I want to, I raise the bar. I strive for something more. I strive to be someone better. I strive to give and help more people. You see, it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how much wealth you have. You might be a millionaire. You might be a multimillionaire. Hell, you might be a billionaire. There is not ever going to come a time where money and the amount that you have is enough, because there are too many other people out there to help. There are too many other good things out there you can do. And because the giving world, the ability to go out there and help other people solve their problems is infinite, which means no amount of money can solve all the problems you need to solve. So why would you ever think that you have enough? Why would you ever say, oh, I don't want to be greedy? There is no such thing as greed unless you allow greed. Greed is a fictitious thing. Greed is something you make. Greed is something that you create. Abundance, an abundant mindset, is unlimited in its capacity, but you cannot ever, ever, ever ignore law number 5 of wealth. And I'm going to read it one more time. Wealth shall find you if your heart and soul are focused on solving other people's problems. Unconditionally give and solve people's problems. Find joy in giving in order to get. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this solo episode. I hope it touches something in your life, something in your heart, and I hope it gets you to get off your ass and go out there and do more, be more, and strive to be better and never, never, ever arrive. If you enjoyed this, folks, go to chrisnoggle.com and grab a copy of this free guide, this booklet teaching you how to get all the money back for all the cars you will ever buy, drive, and own. And not only that, while you're at it, register for the free wealth webinar. Every single week at 1 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesdays, we give you unbelievable knowledge for free. No strings attached, because there is no limit to how much you can give. And I want you to get as much as you can out of life. So go out there, kick some ass, and kick some people in the face that have arrived, so that they then can wake up and see that they haven't arrived and there's a lot more they need to learn. We'll talk to you next time.